Hi everyone and welcome to Saluso, and today we are talking about why the Panerai Ferrari partnership failed and why that is great for us watch collectors. And thanks to our friends at Chronograph, I've actually been able to get hands-on with one of the examples that came out of this partnership, and that is the Panerai Ferrari Granturismo Rattrapante. So you'll be seeing that throughout the video, and you can check out the links in the description below if you want to find out more about it. But let's start with why the partnership itself failed. And of course, like everything on this channel, we need to start with the history. So the partnership between Panerai and Ferrari went from 2005 up until 2010. And on paper, this might sound like the perfect time for a partnership of two Italian powerhouses. Especially at that time, Panerai was doing great. Ferrari was coming off of 5 consecutive World Drivers' Championships in Formula 1. Everything was all good, right? But that's exactly where things started to go wrong. Because while yes, on paper it seemed like a great time for Panerai to take over from Gerard Perregaux and abandon their brief little love affair that they had with Mercedes-AMG, unfortunately it was the worst time to be co-branded with Ferrari. Because while on paper it may look great, 5 consecutive drivers' championships with Michael Schumacher as part of the team. However, right when this partnership started, Fernando Alonso dethroned Michael Schumacher as world champion. And during the 5 years of this partnership, Ferrari won a grand total of 2 Constructors' Championships and just 1 Drivers' Championship. And Kimi Räikkönen was never really pictured wearing one of these Ferrari Panerai watches, so it didn't really work out great for the brand in terms of having an ambassador to show off their watches. And this carried out to all of the other Ferrari drivers at the time as well. For the time that Michael Schumacher was still with Ferrari, he was an Omega ambassador. Rubens Barrichello was already an Audemars Piguet ambassador. Felipe Massa has almost exclusively ever been seen with Richard Mille, and Kimi Räikkönen was never really spotted wearing any noteworthy watches at the time, though he also has been associated with Richard Mille in more recent history. So while yes, Panerai had the partnership with Ferrari, they never really reaped the PR benefit that comes from being a partner with a company that has a Formula 1 team, and that's where you get the most exposure, especially for watches. Think of things like IWC, think of Richard Mille as a brand itself. Its entire brand recognition was built on the F1 track. And Tag Heuer did that years before as well. But some poor performance from the F1 team wasn't enough to kill this partnership. The other downfall of it was that the strategy itself wasn't really making the most of Panerai itself. Panerai was actually a very successful brand at this time. They were a hot watch, some of their watches even sold over retail, but the Panerai Ferrari watches almost exclusively leveraged the Ferrari branding. In fact, if you look at the dials, you won't see Panerai anywhere. You'll only find Panerai on the back. And all of these watches had exclusive cases as well. It was a very similar strategy to what we saw with the Breitling for Bentley watches. The problem with that is that it doesn't leverage as a watch the strength of what Panerai was. So essentially it was very much a Ferrari watch just made by Panerai versus a Panerai watch made in collaboration with Ferrari. And that's how, on the face of it, a match made in heaven turned out to be a very poor partnership. But before I talk about why this bad partnership ends up being great for us watch collectors, I'd first like to talk about a great partnership, which is the one that this channel has with Chronograph. I get to get hands-on with tons of different watches from their inventory of thousands of different watches from all sorts of brands. And on top of that, I get to give you guys a discount anytime you buy a watch whenever you use the promo code SALUSO. So make sure you check the links in the description below to see this and all their other Panerai models, as well as their selection of luxury watches from all your favorite brands. And make sure to use that promo code if you find anything that you like. But let's bring it back now to why this seemingly failed partnership is actually a great thing for us watch collectors. The first thing is that because it was a commercial failure, there actually aren't that many of these watches out there. To give you an idea, the one that I've been showcasing throughout the video was limited to only 500 pieces and only made from 2006 to 2009. And it's a similar story for a lot of the other Ferrari models as well. Secondly, they represent amazing value for money. I always talk about how depreciation is always vilified and it's like labeled as a bad thing. Depreciation only sucks if you're the person who paid full retail. But for us watch collectors here now in 2022, these watches represent amazing value. The person who paid $14,000 for this at retail definitely is feeling the depreciation. But you can pick up a watch like this, for example, from anywhere between 5 up to about 9 or 10,000 US, depending on the example in the region that you're in. And with that, you get amazing, amazing value. To give you an idea, yes, this isn't an in-house movement, but the OPXVIII, based on a 7750, is reliable. It was modified to have a column wheel, and most importantly, it has a split-second chronograph, possibly one of the most relevant complications for something racing themed. It allows you to split the chronograph hands so that you can see the split between, say, for example, when your car crosses the line and when the next car crosses the line. And this is something I loved about this entire range, because while yes, commercially it didn't really work out, now the great thing is you have tons of these watches that have interesting complications, that have modified reliable movements, because at the time Panerai was known for using ETA movements. So it means you have the reliability of an ETA, but with interesting modifications like the split-second chronograph. And that's really something that you can't find very many split-second chronographs for sub $10,000 these days. With this, you get it, along with the amazing attention to detail. I always applaud a watch that embraces a concept. It's one of the reasons why, for example, I love the Breitling Premier for Bentley. It really leaned into the Bentley-ness. And this Panerai does the same thing. It's not just a case where they put the Ferrari prancing horse on the dial and called it a day. Starting with the sub-dials, which are all themed around racing dials. I mean, that's obvious, right? But what about that nice waffle pattern? The honeycomb on the back that echoes the early honeycomb construction used on F1 cars and Ferrari's road cars. Then you have the double alligator leather strap. Not only does it have alligator on top, it has alligator on the bottom as well, which is not only more expensive, it's also much more comfortable than having leather on the underside, and much more resistant and durable. Then you have the super solid deployant clasp. They could have easily cheaped out and used a pin buckle, but again, they decided to over-engineer this to the nth degree. You look at the knurling on the pushers and on the crown, it echoes some of those vintage aluminum touches that you would find on the inside of older Ferrari models. And then there's even the crown itself, something so simple, something that this isn't a dive watch, it doesn't have a GMT or anything like that, but they still engineered it so well. It has a simple half turn with a red indicator to unscrew it, not even a half a turn, it's a quarter turn, and then it's sealed back up again, and you get 100 meters water resistance. You have an indicator to know if it's unsealed, and it's easy to seal it up as well. These are small details that every watchmaker honestly should be making, but Panerai was already doing that. And on top of that, you get that good movement on the inside, and it is very nicely decorated for where it is, being a 7750 base movement. And before you write it off for being too big, bear in mind that Panerai watches know that they're big. So that's the idea. But when you put them on the wrist, they do kind of hide their size and work. It's because they're designed with that in mind. And the shaping of the case and the lugs, it just makes it just a giant monolith of art on your wrist. It has much more to it than, a big Bauhaus style fashion watch that you can't even tell the time on. Every little detail is thought out on this watch, and the same carries over to so many of the other Ferrari Panerai watches as well. And that's why I think it's a great opportunity for watch collectors now, because it's suffered its depreciation, but the watches haven't really gotten worse. And because they're based, a lot of them, on ETA movements, it means that they're still reliable. They were built to last from the beginning. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this Ferrari Panerai watch and any of the others in the collection? And what do you think of car watch co-branding in general? I'd love to know you guys' thoughts in the comments below. And of course, another big thanks to Chronograph for lending in the Ferrari Panerai that I used throughout this video. Make sure you check the links in the description below and use the discount code CHALUSO in case you find anything you like. And of course, if you like this video, make sure you like it and share it. If you want to see more pictures and infographics of watches as seen throughout this and all my other videos, then make sure you follow me on Instagram at CHALUSO. If you want to see more videos of watches, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell as well so you know when the next video comes out. In any case, thanks for watching this video, and we'll catch you on the next one.